All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case over on Rumble, which has switched me to night mode, dark mode for some reason, and I'm not 100% sure why. Anyway, we already have a lot of chats coming in. Mrs. Tag, is soup a cereal? Only if it contains cereal grains. Spaz out. Oh, Daily Taco Tuesday with pineapples. CC, pineapple tacos, amigo. Slow 52. I can't believe it. I'm going to actually catch the show from the beginning. Hey, clankers. Yes, congratulations. And Lemon Curd Zero saying clank most. Yes, you must always clank. I've got my clanking in order right here with some extra caffeinated coffee. Not a bad account. Why are old guys like Biden determined to screw us? Well, he never met a female he didn't want to screw, apparently. His interactions with everything from children to elderly women, a little bit on the suspect side. And follow up, what made boomers and Gen X so selfish overall? Everyone is selfish. Every generation is fundamentally so. By the way, if you are watching on YouTube, pinned at the top of chat. If you're watching on any platform, it's down in the description. Wokeness is Wrong is now available. I'm trying to do an experiment because I released Orange Man Big a couple of weeks ago. And I monitored its first week's sales, promoting it just on the live streams and making the one-off videos like I always do. And that's a fictional work. It's satirical in nature. It's about liberals being obsessed with Donald Trump, or TDS sufferers in general. A couple of them are about conservative rhinos and falling into weird degenerate scenarios with him. And it sold very well. It's still selling very well now, several weeks later. So I'm very happy about that. Wokeness is Wrong is more of an academic work. And so if you like the more academic political takes that I do, and you don't want the free-flowing sort of stream of consciousness of my videos, you'd rather have something in a more rugged format, that work is for you if you oppose wokeness. And so I've decided to release those in short order to see how many sales of the wokeness work, which is more academic, more dry, more studious, as opposed to Orange Man Big, which is facetious. It's meant to be a joke. It's meant to be satirical. So if you want that work, again, link in the description, cross-platform, and pinned at the top if you happen to be watching us on a YouTube live stream. Many more works coming down the pipeline soon, by the way. Stormblood20, don't have a clanky coffee, but good morning from Indiana at work. Orange Rockstar is my caffeine of choice. Rockstar sucks. Oh my God. Jesus. No accounting for, I'm sorry, but no accounting for taste. I tried one exactly once and fucking hated it. Over-sugared nonsense. At least get a sugar-free. Wookie Gremlin. Good morning, Sticks. Could you please tell my wife Tinky Winky Ding Ding thanks for the great videos? Well, yeah. Tinky Winky Ding Ding. I'm supposed to thank you for your videos, I think? Or she's telling me thank you. I'm not 100% sure what you mean. Well, thank you if you make videos, and thank me if you like my videos. Yeah, anyway, I'm hyper-caffeinated. Just done coffee today. We got to talk about the Durham report today. That's the main news. It's being spun in a million directions, which was predictable based on what's contained in the Durham report. Trump is weighing in on abortion. He's countermanding DeSantis, actually, with his 6-week abortion ban in Florida. I will give my thoughts on that. I was going to do a standalone, but I had so many topics to cover, I figured I would pile it into the live stream, and I'll give my my thoughts here. And also, Mike Pence may be running, and also Rick Perry may be running. We're going to wait and see. This is going to be a legendary election if they both get in. It's going to be one for the ages. It's going to be fun as fuck. I'm looking forward to it even more than 2016, assuming they both get in. We'll see what happens. Of course, DeSantis is slow walking it. We don't know what Christie's doing. Now we got several other unknown quantities, so we're going to talk about them both. Nick Ray 47, good morning from Ohio, Sticks. Morning to you as well. Ohio. Lots of train derailments and shit there, which people, notably, they've dropped out of the news cycle, not without good reason. Let's see. Not a banned account. Libraries accept erotica, donating Orange Man Big. Well, if you want to, just make sure that they know that it's erotic fiction and not meant for children. Unlike liberals, I don't believe in exposing children to extremely sexualized material that involves poop and pee and stuff like that. Jomangan, join the fight against the hand, looking for cast for Defenders Season 3 in Manhattan. Sparky, did Durham report say anything about Seth Rich? Unfortunately, I don't believe so. We'll get right into that, by the way. The Durham report. Durham report. FBI used falsified, partisan-sourced information to justify investigation into Trump campaign in 2016. Now, we've got to talk about what is in the Durham report and what is not in the Durham report. What's not in the Durham report, and this is what is being most widely reported on, and that's, again, for a reason, is that Durham did not come out and say, well, the FBI is corrupt as hell and colluded to stop Donald Trump and to weigh him down for 2020 or to get him impeached or something like that. He doesn't say that. He comes up very shy of that and instead says, well, the FBI used false information, that it should have vetted more properly, but it didn't. That came from partisan sources, notably the Hillary campaign. Apparently, there was actually collusion between the Hillary campaign and the Obama people and the DOJ, Holder, and others at the time. It should never have gone forward. It was illegitimate from top to bottom. There were multiple individuals involved with it that were politically partisan. Not the whole FBI, though, just the individuals handling this particular case. So, you know, Strzok and Lisa Page and others, as well as Rosenstein, rubber stamping the FISA warrant. You will remember, of course, he testified before Congress years ago and said he could not recall whether he actually read the FISA application before signing off on it, before it went before the court. He couldn't remember. That's because he read it. He knew that it was bullshit, but he signed it anyway for political reasons. That is objective truth. Rosenstein was involved as well. That's not contained within this report, but I mean, come on, make a fucking inference. At some point, you've got to do so. Here's the long and short of it. I'm seeing a huge amount of cope from the legacy media on the Durham report. Most of them are not talking about how this is effectively an exoneration of Donald Trump. Instead, they're fixating on the fact that Durham didn't come out and directly and explicitly state that the FBI from top to bottom was corrupt. But that's not what the average person was alleging at the time. They were alleging elements of corruption within the FBI, a rubber-stamped investigation based on false pretenses, with the Steele dossier being central to it, of course, created by the Clinton campaign. All of these things are now known to be true. Durham found them true. His probe has found that that is in fact the case. Every single claim that was made by Trump's allies, short of, hey, the FBI at the top level was involved with the whole charade, is true. So you got 9 out of 10, ain't bad, basically. Durham has found that the entire investigation should never have happened in the first place, using those effectively exact words. If the investigation should not have taken place, none of the pertinent arrests should have taken place either. It was a fishing expedition. Legally speaking, that's number one. Number two, I see a lot of cope from the little people as well, the little poop butt liberals, saying, well, here's a list of people that were jailed pertinent to the investigation. Okay, asshole, it never should have happened. Durham has found that. And secondly, most of those points don't even hold water. Papadopoulos spent 2 weeks in jail. Yeah, he lied to the FBI. Big deal. He spent 2 weeks in jail. That's a sub misdemeanor at that point. Manafort was jailed on things that happened long before the 2016 election. Yeah, he coordinated with some Russians and a bunch of Turks. That's the actual, by the way, problem that they had with Manafort's business dealings. That was under the Bush administration. That was a decade before the 2016 election. It was a fishing expedition, as to use the legal terminology. Start an investigation, cast the net very, very broadly with very, very little in the way of oversight or purview, and simply nail everyone that you can. We see Roger Stone, for example, netted up. Now they're going after Giuliani for, I think, the third time. Well, he tried to pay $1 million a year salary to someone he wanted to hire just to get sex. By the way, I actually believe that might be true. Giuliani is known to be a bit of a horn dog, so it's basically differential enforcement. It's more like, hey, everyone in empowered positions seems to do the same fucking shit. It's just that if you run afoul of the system, you're the only one that gets caught. You're the fly and not the hornet in the spider's web. So the Durham report will come of nothing in the legal sense. To be clear, this is not going to cause FBI agents DOJ members, etc., to be prosecuted. They might be looked into topically by the House Republicans, but basically they'll just be reiterating what we already know. But the report itself is still damning. It's still very, very damning. Trump can use this as leverage by saying, look, I told you it was a witch hunt. Durham agrees with me. It was based on false pretenses. Officials found that it should never have actually been launched as an investigation in the first place. He will use this for political leverage. If he's smart, which he's already weighed in, so clearly he is. It doesn't matter whether the people that were involved with this illegal witch hunt are actually prosecuted. It matters much more that Trump can use it as a political cudgel. And that's exactly what he is going to do. So it's going to be interesting to see how this is dovetailed into the election. Durham's report is damning, though. We shouldn't have investigated him. There was no evidence. The evidence was manufactured. It was politically motivated. Multiple individuals within the FBI were politically motivated, but wink, wink, nudge, nudge, look the other way on the Bureau in general. It's beginning to look a lot like those people who called for defunding the FBI were correct for the last few years, myself included. Very interesting. I was told I was a conspiracy theorist a couple of years ago when I said that this would be the end result of the Durham report as well. I was called a conspiracy theorist for agreeing with what is now objective and observable reality, as found by intel officials investigating the matter. That happens often, I've noticed. Anyway, we'll get past Durham. It is a major news story. There will probably be a bit of a follow-up regarding it, not just from the legacy media, which is ass covering right now, but from the intel agencies themselves. The FBI is looking into the matter. It's investigating itself. Just ignore the whole Hunter Biden thing with the IRS panel that was supposed to look into him being fired because the DOJ complained about the case. Yeah, I'll be talking about that one, by the way, tomorrow. I'm not going to mention it right now on the live stream. There's fairly big news with regards to the Hunter Biden tax evasion / gun / everything else case that people need to know about. It's definitely a political hatchet job at this point. King of Biltong, good morning from Antons in Road Oak, Texas. #Clank Nation. My meat fund keeps growing every single day. It's like $100 a fucking week worth of meat that you're funding me. You're going to be, your inventory won't be large enough when I get there to Texas. And I'm going to have to, I'm going to buy all the meat. I'm just going to sit there on a pile of meat, chewing it and staring out at the road, slowly slipping into madness. Trick Starry, is this not concrete evidence of election interference? Yes, it is. Absolutely. The FBI colluded with other political groups, and the FBI is one at this point, to fuck with the 2020 election. We're not talking, don't worry, YouTube, don't ban me, bro. We're not talking about ballot machines. We're not talking about voter fraud or anything like that. We're talking about now an established, objective, clear-cut case of something that was major being forced on the public that wasn't true. Meanwhile, there was also an active cover-up by the same bureau and other bureaus as well with regards to the Hunter Biden laptop that they knew was actually a real scandal, but they pretended that it wasn't. We've got context on that from Dorsey, as well as Musk, Zuckerberg, and all the other big heavy hitters. In some cases, like Zuckerberg spent tens of millions of dollars to try to get Biden elected through voting bullshit. By funding, get out the vote groups, specifically in blue areas within sensitive states. He's not exactly a Trump fan, and yet he admitted to Joe Rogan, I think it was last year at this point, that actually happened. The FBI came forward and claimed to him that it was bullshit and to be on the lookout for disinfo, despite the fact that it knew that it wasn't disinfo. Sparky, Durham's main goal was to slow walk him. Yeah, but in the end, Trump still scores a win. A big one. Chuck Flea, going after people in Chicago about illegal migrants is not productive in getting them on our side. We should sympathize with them. It is anti-black. Well, it is, yeah. Although they are a bunch of fucking NIMBYists. Mr. Pockets X. Thoughts on the historical marker that was removed in Concord and honored a communist? Haven't seen anything about it. You can DM me on Twitter, and I'll look into the story. By the way, I'm not going to be covering the Miller Lite story because that appears to be faux outrage over a largely satirical 2-month-old video, which is so over the top that I'm assuming that it was meant mainly as a joke. So I won't be covering the Miller Lite saga because, I mean, I don't drink beer. Again, like with Budweiser, I just don't care. I was reluctant to talk about Dylan Mulvaney. It doesn't appear that they actually went woke, but you shouldn't be drinking piss beer anyway because it's bad for you. If you're going to get alcohol, at the very least, get wine or something like that that has some possible tangential health benefits instead of pussy beer. E. Lombard, Ari Netflix Cleopatra. When they rolled out a black Anne Boleyn, I knew these people are on a mission. #resist. Yes, we'll be talking about Cleopatra. We'll be the epic fail that is Cleopatra. Next news story. Trump hits DeSantis on abortion, suggests 6-week abortion ban is too harsh. Oh, can I fucking call them? I'm taking a win on this one. I've told people for years, liberals and, conservatives, tradcons, etc. alike, Donald Trump is not an evangelo-moralist. He is an economic conservative, like a real one, a populist, which is something that the GOP rarely spawned since the early 1980s. He is a mild reformer. He's not God Emperor. He's not actually going to form the Imperium or something like that. That's Trump in a nutshell. He is a pragmatic reformer, electable, a reasonable individual who is, at least at the moment, he's not demented. So he's got one up on Biden on that. And on abortion, I told liberals, I seem to recall during the 2016 election that he didn't intend to outlaw abortion. They swore up and down that would happen. When Roe v. Wade ended, they claimed that it was a big win for their argument against me, but claimed, well, look at the Donald Trump court appointees got rid of Roe v. Wade. Yeah, and then what did the Republicans do? Like Lindsey Graham right out of the fucking gate. They threw the 2020 election in part by bringing up the specter of that issue on purpose for sabotage purposes, which I also analyzed at the time. The fact is that abortion will remain legal in the majority of states. Even here, I mean, it's a 6-week ban, but it's not illegal. It's just onerous in nature. It doesn't make maybe pragmatic sense, but it's not illegal. I believe there's also an exception for if a woman's life is in danger, which is fairly important. And I'll tell you what Donald Trump wants, and I'm capable of analyzing what he does. Donald Trump wants roughly a 12-week abortion ban. That is, first trimester, it's legal. After that, a woman's life has to be in danger, or she was raped or something like that. And, she was held in a basement for 14 weeks and shouldn't have to go through that. Donald Trump is the moderate on this issue. DeSantis is a little bit less moderate on the issue, a 6-week ban. I mean, I think it's red meat to the evangelical base there more than anything. I don't think that DeSantis is a moralist either. I just think that he's trying to hit from the right on this issue, and he finds that politically convenient. Of course, when he won by 20 points in a state that is lurching off into more and more right-wing territory, strategically, that does make sense. If you want to run for the presidency and lock down your home base, or if you want to run for the Senate, maybe you challenge Rubio or something. Yeah, hitting them from the right makes sense. Maybe less for the presidency than a Senate seat or something like that, but he's capable of doing that. I've said for years, Donald Trump is not religious. He doesn't consider that a moral issue. He considers it a pragmatism issue. I approach it from partially a pragmatic viewpoint. Abortion, even if completely illegal, would result in the use of coat hangers and pennyroyal tea more than anything else. And also the issue of I just don't want the government seeping into people's personal medical decisions. It goes beyond abortion. I think that the leftoids and the authoritarians want the right wing to go far right on the issue so that they can justify like medical mandates for other things. I get the feeling there may be a subversion afoot with that one. As far as Donald Trump's views, though, I read the room correctly before the 2016 election. He had weighed in sporadically before, same with gay marriage, by the way, and doesn't care. But marijuana, another great example. He said, well, I don't think that I support medical marijuana, and I don't know that people should go to prison for so long, which is a Biden policy, by the way, the Tough on Crime bill, 1994. Kamala championed this as well. He was the moderate on the issue. Hey, I don't think that people should be facing felony charges for weed possession, the 3 strikes rules and shit. On abortion, same thing. He never weighed in and said, well, it's terrifying. They're ripping babies out of people's wombs and we have to stop it. And, fuck Roe v. Wade. He put justices on the court to end it. And he pointed out, although he didn't fully drive the point home, and this is the one beef I have with his debate capabilities, the CNN town hall, he pointed out something that is fundamentally true. Roe v. Wade ending gave leverage to the pro-life crowd, as opposed to before, because of Roe v. Wade, they had no leverage. And so the liberal states did whatever they wanted, and it was slow-walked as an issue. Now that Roe v. Wade is gone, you're capable of finding a compromise that people can live with. It is not pragmatic to ban all abortion in the United States. This is my genuinely held view. I know some of you disagree. You think it's murder. Again, if you're going to govern, you have to do so pragmatically. Look at what actually works. You can be off in la la land and hope that things are a certain way, or you can recognize the way that they are and fucking deal with it. That's my view. I'm a pragmatist. That's why I'm not an ANCAP, by the way, as well. That being said, it does give leverage to create that synthesis, that compromise. Before, the pro-lifers didn't have any leverage, so Ralph Northam can say, oh yeah, 9 months, yeah, you can abort the baby at 9 months. Oh, if the baby's born, and we'll decide what to do afterwards. Maybe we fucking chop its head off literally when it's been born after viability. The majority of people in the United States don't support that, and I would warn people, some of the further writers are supporting DeSantis in this particular issue and saying, well, DeSantis has it right, Jesus, Jesus. I would warn you that you are at grave risk of pushing an issue, pushing an ideology that subjugates you to the Dems. The Dems overstretched on this issue with Northam in Virginia and others, pushing a 9-month limitless abortion system, even post-birth abortion. I hate to tell you this, but the tradcons are fundamentally correct. Some of the liberals do seem to think that aborting the baby after it's born is fine. Virtually no Americans support that. They have lost on the issue of abortion. If you allow them enough rope to hang themselves, they will hang themselves on the fucking gallows, and you have won. What Graham and others pushed instead was a national abortion ban, effectively, or at least state-level bans that go far in the opposite direction, again, away from any synthesis point in which you can win the debate. What Trump is doing is smart by pointing out 6 weeks is onerous. Most people don't support that. Historically speaking, if you look around the developed world, which Bernie Sanders is so fond of doing, it's 12 weeks, sometimes 14, it depends. In some cases, viability, again, around the same point of time. That is something that the average American would support. It is a winning issue. You don't have to go A or B. It's a false dichotomy. The idea that you either have to have a complete ban in all cases, so a woman is going to die on the slab if she gives birth, but you force her to give birth and then she dies. The idea that that is the counterpart to the argument that you should be able to abort when the baby is 2 days away from being born is false. You don't have to play that game. Some people will consider you a cuck for suggesting that fact, but it is indeed a fact. It is not up for debate. The American people don't want abortion to be completely banned. They don't want it available in the 3rd trimester. It's as fucking simple as that. Trump helped to end Roe v. Wade, which has become helpful for leverage for people who do want limits on abortion availability. They don't want 9-month abortions. He's striking that tone, which is what he's said for years. People, again, it's just like with gay marriage when Donald Trump said, I don't give a shit about that issue, and that was back in the 2000s. When I pointed this out, some people are like, no, he's going to drag gay people through the streets and lynch them. And people who support the concept believe that just as much as people who fear that concept. I said, that's not going to happen. It's never going to happen under a Trump presidency. He's an old 80s tycoon, dude. He's more interested in making money than literally anything else under the sun. He is not a moralist. He's not trying to be a dictator. Some people fault him for not trying to be a dictator. Some people fault him because they believe that he was trying to be one. You were all wrong. And people like myself who correctly analyzed Donald Trump and his psychology, we were invariably right. I've been right again, so I'm taking a win on that one. I believe that abortion should fundamentally be legal. I do believe in limitations on it because they are pragmatic to have. That's the long and short of my personal views. I seem to be roughly in line with Donald Trump on that. As far as DeSantis, again, abortion is not illegal in Florida. The problem being some people don't realize they're pregnant until they're running up against 6 weeks. And so Trump is pointing out that that's too onerous, which indicates that he believes it should be longer than that. I would say probably an 8 or 12 week cutoff. which is in line with much of the rest of the world. Robot Trucker, how would you define magic and the occult? The occult is the search for wisdom and that which is hidden. Magic is the effects upon the world, upon reality, that derive from the occult. Sparky, apparently Cleopatra would suck the chrome off a trailer hitch. Yeah. Trick Starry, if the GOP would shut up about Jeebus, they would be unstoppable. Do you agree? It's fine to have religious views, believe in God, talk about Jesus, Merry Christmas and stuff. That's fine. But that doesn't need to inform public policy. And there are people who seem to think and they believe in this dying melodramatic mythology that you're going to be able to be elected if that's all you talk about. And I find it unhelpful. This is why conservatives fail, because they fuck themselves. It's not because someone else fucks them. They fuck themselves. Nobody else's penis is in their ass. They bent their cock around backwards and shoved it up their own ass and sodomized themselves. This is the GOP in a nutshell. Space and Goats, one of my favorite YouTubers. Been a fan 9 years now. Long-term clanker. Congratulations. And I hope for many more years of fun content for you. Josh Eternal, exactly. Every nation that has ever outlawed abortion has been a dictatorship. When you allow government to go that far, it's an open door to tyranny. Yeah, I have problems with the legal precedent that it sets that a lot of people won't look at. A lot of people don't want to think about the pragmatic legalese, like judicial fallout from establishing such a legal precedent. They think it'll be just limited to abortion. No. That's not the way government works. You give them an inch and they take 10.2 inches, basically, and then they fuck you in the ass. They sodomize you, like the GOP does to itself on a regular basis on moral issues. And people like us that try to warn you that you shouldn't be doing that, we are castigated as cucks. We're castigated as weak on the issue because we understand that you cannot win with your current platform. We try to warn you, and then somehow we're the bad guys. Not a banned account. Is the 2024 election fortified against threats? Partially. We'll see what happens with that one. I do believe that Donald Trump will be the nominee for the Republican Party, and assuming he doesn't croak, Biden will be the Dem nominee. So it'll be a rematch, a really fun one. Swamp Donkey 69420 on Rumble. I wonder if Hannity and Co. will still say FBI is full of patriots. The FBI equals Federal Bolshevik Institute. Null hypothesis. Obama was involved in kicking off the Russian collusion hoax. Yes, I briefly mentioned that. He was involved with meetings with Hillary's people pertinent to the Steele dossier. Meander 3. Pepperidge Farm fucking appreciates the shout out. Yes, I mentioned them commonly. I don't even eat their products because I don't like cookies. Bunny Rarebit. CNN's Jake Tapper is admitting the final report exonerates the Donald. Isn't that selectively edited, actually? By the way, who cares what Jake Tapper says? But that is fundamentally correct. It exonerates him. There was no Russian collusion. He was correct when he said that the Russian collusion hoax was manufactured for political reasons and filtered through a corrupt pipeline of ineffectual FBI agents who had their own political beliefs. Null hypothesis. Fake cat on the shelf. That is Dicky Dick, which means fatty fat, actually, in Dutch. It's a long-standing sort of Dutch series, a lot of kids' books, etc. I got this one for our daughter, a little plushie, and she likes it. She cuddles it and smushes it against her face and babbles at it, and it's adorable. Bunny Rarebit. Fetal tissues and cells for sale by the government. Fighting for no limits abortion is being a tool for the government. So would be fighting for abortion bans. The government would have to be involved with that now, wouldn't they? Null hypothesis. Joe Biden's body aborted his brain a few years ago. Bunny Rarebit. It would be epic if male-to-female surgery was like a rubber band. It snaps back when you least expect it. Back to your DNA with you. Let's see. Tommy Simonson. You want to cut the date for abortion just before you can get a gender screening to avoid abortion due to the wrong gender. So yes, 12 to 16 weeks. Yeah, that would also be the problem. Imagine that parents from certain cultures where there's usually a heavy preference for a male child find out that the baby's female and abort it. Come on. It's a little bit on the uncivilized side now, isn't it? Or they prefer a daughter and they kill their male son because they wanted a daughter. It's just a little bit barbaric. I mean, again, the government shouldn't be the impetus for that decision. Cutting it off at 12 or 14 weeks is normal for the civilized world. In fact, the United States, some states have much more lenient abortion laws than virtually all of the developed world, other than a few spots in Canada and I think the Philippines, if I remember correctly. Most of Europe has a 12 or 14-week ban. That's what they go with. Sure, it's arbitrary, but it's pragmatic. Not a bad account. How much worse is Donald Trump than Mustache Man? Who's Mustache Man? I don't know who you mean. Bobby Bologna, Sticks, you're a dumbass. Yes, I'm a dumbass for believing that in order to govern, you must keep things pragmatic and look at what works. I get that a lot, by the way, from people left, right, and center. Next news story. Oh, well, alert, news alert. Super PAC backing Mike Pence launches ahead of former vice president's imminent 2024 campaign. Now, it's not necessarily imminent. Mike Pence may or may not actually enter the running. I'm really fucking hoping that he does. The thing that would complete my life, I could go to my grave happy, would be for Mike Pence to get into the race and get absolutely goddamn obliterated. This is assuming, of course, we don't know if DeSantis will get in. We'll be talking about Rick Perry as well. He definitely won't win. Mike Pence, if he gets into the GOP nomination process, is in third place. Well, that's not bad. See, the problem is third place in a race with basically two people who have any viability, and you are the one that rounds them out. You're the whipping boy. You're the one that gets spanked. DeSantis and Trump both would goddamn obliterate you in a fiery barrage of goddamn complete hate. DeSantis would say, oh, you're Trump adjacent. You're making apologies for Orange Man. Trump would say, you're disloyal. You're a piece of crap, fake MAGA filth. Where does that leave you? What coalition would Mike Pence hope to actually secure? Chris Christie might be able to do better, assuming that he, again, gets into the race at all. At this point, I think, if Mike Pence does launch, and it looks like the possibility has grown, I basically wrote him off. I'm like, I can't understand why you would be so masochistic as to want to. Your former boss will crucify you. The only other viable contender will crucify you for being adjacent to your former boss. Nikki Haley will crucify you, probably for being ineffectual. Ramaswamy will everyone will crucify you. What do you get out of it? I mean, are you signing a book deal? Are you releasing a Monopoly set, the Mike Pence theme one or something? Other than that, I can't imagine a reason in, but it looks like there's a possibility, a distinct one, that he actually is crazy enough to do this. Where is your coalition? What possible, again, with over 50% of Republicans lock, stock, and barrel effectively locked behind Donald Trump, and about half of the rest locked behind DeSantis. And those are all MAGA voters, by the way. DeSantis has support among MAGA that likes MAGA policies. They just don't like Orange Man. Trump has the core of support that they like MAGA and they do like Orange Man. That's 75% plus of the entire voting base. Then you have the globaloid neocons. Well, they can't decide whether they want to start a war for profit or start a war for fun. That's basically the Nikki Haley, Asa Hutchinson dynamic. And then you've got the marginal MAGA and the fence sitters with populism and arguably quasi-libertarianism in some cases, almost the Rand Paul crowd with Ramaswamy. Please tell me what voting bloc you're actually going to pitch to if you get into the process. What do you hope to accomplish? I can't think of, I'm scratching my head thinking why he would run. Apparently he's considering it, so we'll see what happens, but he's got a super PAC formed ahead of a possible run. Maybe it's just a grift for money. They're going to get donations and then he won't run and they'll just, they'll donate it to whatever candidate he endorses, maybe. That's a possibility. Could be a move for Trump, actually, in such a case. Let's see. Yeah, who wants Pence? Does literally anyone in chat? Would you even conceive of voting for him if you're an American? Because I wouldn't. If Trump died and DeSantis hanged himself and Ramaswamy fucked off and drowned and Nikki Haley were to move to North Korea and gets detained, again, if he were the only Republican there, I wouldn't vote for Mike Pence in the primary or the general. I'd rather write in Mickey Mouse at that point. It'd be a joke. Sparky, Despite Roe v. Wade being poorly written, it was as dead as an issue. Uniparty conspired with SCOTUS to revitalize it to give Dems an issue and hinder MAGA. I don't believe that there was a conspiracy with SCOTUS based on the justice composition. Again, several of them Trump appointees. I don't believe that. What I do believe, it was unhelpful timing, but it is helpful in terms of settling the issue at the congressional level, which is what now has to proceed with. The Republicans should not be trying to federalize an issue that they promulgated for several decades as a states' rights issue. That is stupid. They're dumb to do so. Trump knows it. I know it. Some of you know it. Others, it escapes their notice. Scott Christie Jones, utility bills as crazy there as they are in Great Britain? I don't know. I don't have a comparison shoppers sort of thing going on. But yeah, utilities are definitely higher than they should be. Brandon Fairbanks, is colonization of Mars possible? With a huge amount of upkeep, yes. I don't know that it's really something that they should bother to do, but it'd be kind of novel to have people wandering around on Mars, at least for a while. Not a banned account. Are we secretly already on the moon or Mars? Yeah, that's a conspiracy theory for you. Long gone are the days of debating whether we landed on the moon. Are we actually on the moon already? News at 5. Branch Covidian 19. Have you ever met someone that thought that Obama was actually a Muslim back in the day? No, actually, I never did. That was a story spawned as well by the Clinton campaign by a couple of rogue staffers and then got taken up by others, notably Donald Trump. To be clear, he did take that up as a banner for a while. That was back before he had genuine presidential ambitions, though. Next news story, and I'm loving it. Netflix's Queen Cleopatra panned by critics. Yes, I see a lot of propaganda articles claiming that this is racism. People only don't like it because Cleopatra is a melanated sister. She's cast off as a proud black woman in these particular episodes of African Queens, by the way, by Will Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith. And I see it, the panning of the series being in turn panned as a racial sort of thing, as review bombing. And what's being pointed out here, and which I pointed out this morning, is that normally speaking, if it's review bombing, you get a disconnect on Rotten Tomatoes or anywhere else between the audience reviews and the critic reviews. So you'll have the critics give it a 70, so it's okay, it's pretty good, it's watchable, and the audience gives it 0. And you say, okay, it might have been review bombing by the audience, or it may be cope by the critics, which have been bought off. They have different socio-political views. They tend to come from, the artsy-fartsy film student crowd. So they have different priorities and political views than the general audience. Some movies get high praise from both. So they're above 75, 80 from the audience and from the critics. Like you would think, like the first Jurassic Park, Jaws, or something like that. A classic movie that most people that watch it, they like it. It's become a classic. Silence of the Lambs, for example, something like that. And then you get movies where the audience hates it and the critics like it. This is typically where woke movies fall in. The audience, like the Ghostbusters reboot, the audience did not like the movie. The critics pretended to like it for clout reasons. You can also get the inverse. The critics hate a movie, but it becomes a fan favorite. Because usually it's like a so bad it's good sort of thing. So the audience likes it because it's funny, it may be unintentionally, it's quirky, there's something weird about it. The critics fucking assail it because they're like, I don't even understand the plot. But people are like, I don't understand the plot. For the same basic premise is used for 2 totally different reactions. And then you get something like this particular Queen Cleopatra series narrative. The critics hate it. The audience hates it. Nobody's defending it. That means it is fucking garbage. When the critics align with the audience in derision or praise for something, it is more reliably a metric of how good it is than if there's a differentiation. Again, review bombing, critic wagon circling, or critics bombarding something while the audience genuinely liked it. That happens quite commonly. It's become a sort of cultural struggle over filmography. When they both agree, though, the writing's on the wall. When you have a 2% audience score and a 10% score from the critics, and that's just because literally one person out of 10 decided to give it a positive review, even though the review doesn't look that positive. I'm not sure exactly why the tomato is there on Rotten Tomatoes, or you get a similar sort of a response from every other site that does film criticism. Well, you fucked up. Yeah, believe it or not, if you have a poorly worded script, everything's ahistorical, it's boring, the acting isn't great, and the only novel thing about your episodes are that you have swapped out Cleopatra, who was Caucasian. She was provably white. We've got depictions. We've got genealogical evidence, everything under the sun. We know that Cleopatra was broadly European. She may or may not have had dark hair and or eyes, but we know that she was effectively Caucasian. She was Europeanized in form. We know that. It's historical record. There is no debate to be had. If the only thing that you can do is therefore cast her as black because you want a strong, empowered African queen for your series, and nothing else about that particular episode actually makes sense, no shit, you got panned. So I still see a bunch of propaganda out there talking about review bombing, but the critics hate it too. They fucking hated it. It's got 10% on Rotten Tomatoes, and that site locks down, by the way, audience ratings when they're too negative, assuming review bombing. Well, there's a reason why they're not doing that. It's because the critics agree with them. So yeah, the Queen Cleopatra, we was queen sort of thing has died. Really, it's possibly a death knell of wokeness at this point. Wokeness has made a lot of money for these sites, for films, for series, for streaming purposes. It's made a lot of money for people. And now people are beginning to push back against it. It'll make less money potentially, unless you hate watch the episode or something like that. And when it becomes less enticing for money reasons, eventually they'll probably go on the other. They'll start making movies about the American Eagle. The American Eagle story, part 12. And all it is an eagle flying through the air crying or something like that. It's fucking horse shit. Let's see. Pig Riser. Just watched a BBC segment on how surfing is contributing to climate change. Utter drivel. Yeah. Not a band account. Should Warhammer 40,000 have female space marines? Never done anything Warhammer related. Sparky, Uniparty hero Mitch McConnell chose SCOTUS justices, not Trump. Well, they seem to be doing a pretty good job. No, I don't think that that's the case. I think that they were chosen by Trump. As is his purview. Brian Sanborn, Sticks, if you can watch start to finish Jaws 3, I will send you $50. Well, then you better send me $50 because I've already watched it, if I recall correctly. I don't know, campy movies, even like poorly acted ones, sometimes it just becomes unintentionally hilarious. It basically, you're like, okay, this isn't really a horror movie. I'll give it a pass because it's technically a comedy. And this has happened many times, especially with the horror and sci-fi genres. Do you remember back in the 2000s when sci-fi began releasing a shit ton of really, really low-budget, poorly CGI original films? They had like, Serpent King and stuff like that. Do you remember that era? Oh, I loved those movies because they're fucking hilarious. I like the one where that one evil, I can't remember exactly the plot, but the protagonists are being led through the woods by some like crazy dude who I guess he wants to rob them or something. And the Serpent King shows up and it's got, 4 serpent heads attached to the bite. It's like a hydra. And it grabs him by each arm and leg and it pulls the arms and legs off. And you get this weird scene where at first it's CGI and there's blood spurting everywhere. And then it shows his stump-addled body just drop to the ground. He's like, ah! It was so great. It was so terrible. The acting was sub-B movie. It was sub-fucking F movie. It was the most terrible thing. It was worse than Blair Witch 2. But it was just fucking hilarious. Damn, I loved the Sci-Fi Channel before they stopped doing that shit. Tyler Morrison. Tyler Perry as Mediapatra, guaranteed smash hit. Sparky, everyone knows Cleopatra looked like Liz Taylor. The Patriot Cairo, Sticks, Mafifis, missed my chat. Oh shit, I'll try to go back and find it. Again, it is not made easier for me to navigate this based on the new format that's being used by StreamYard, so I'll do the best that I can here. Patriot Cairo. Uncle Ronnie signed legislation that prohibits state-funded universities from spending money on diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Great move. Yes, Ron DeSantis scores a win with that one. ESG and similar things do need to die. Karma and Kerosene. Sticks, what do you think about Representative Byron Donalds from Florida as a running mate for Trump? He's young, black, smart, and has good sense. I like him. I know very little about him. I'll have to look further into it. I would prefer Rand Paul over anyone else, but he seems unwilling to entertain the possible position. Devin Frazier, look forward to the movie with Will Smith as Hitler. Yeah, I mean, that would be woke now, wouldn't it? Cobretti123 on Rumble. Where does the money come from to keep this ESG garbage afloat? Check out my channel, please. Okay, so Cobretti123, a shout out to you. It comes mainly from so-called philanthropists, so people like George Soros, who right now is being crucified on Twitter, including by Elon Musk. And the cope in the community notes is basically that criticism of him is anti-Semitic. I'm not joking, by the way. I use community notes so I can see the notes that you don't see that are up for consideration. Sigil Stone 17. Didn't Cleopatra do a lot of weird stuff with reptiles and die from a snake biting her titty? Canonical, yes. Not sure why you'd want to claim that. Go big or go home. Claim someone cool like Elizabeth Bathory. Yeah, she was a bathing aficionado. Bunny Rarebit coming soon. Harriet Ross Tubman miniseries starring Madonna as Harriet. I hope she does her own stunt when Harriet gets whacked in the head with a metal jack. Sparky, Sharknado. Yes, people are comparing the Cleopatra episode with Sharknado. Captain Cannabis, Clank, good morning from Arizona. Shout out to Alex. Yeah, the next news story. The Biden admin and New York officials, just a sec, slammed after homeless veterans booted from migrant hotels. Slap in the face. Yes, New York is kicking veterans and other people out of hotels and actually waylaying people that had reserved hotel rooms for marriages and shit like that in favor of people who are in the United States illegally while they wait to be processed. This is happening because New York is getting busload after busload from Texas, Arizona, etc. Biden is responsible for this centrally, and U.S. immigration officials to a lesser extent. You have opened up the border. You have done absolutely nothing to secure it in any meaningful sense. I like the propaganda posts about Title 42. Well, Title 42 ended, and the surge of migrants hasn't shown up as expected. So Biden, he smiles and chuckles and rides off his bike literally the other day when he's questioned about the border and says, oh, everything's fine. Border's secure. It's improving. Everything's fine. No, it's not. Only a complete jackass would believe that. It's not fine. Even if you cut the amount of illegal crossings in half, it wouldn't be fine. If you went back to Trump-era levels, it wouldn't be fine. There are still too many crossings. You need to secure the border. You need to expedite the process of processing and then exporting people, understanding that the majority of them are not eligible for asylum. That's the long and short of it. It is a slap in the face to the people, not just of New York. I also like the NIMBYism. Let me talk about that for a second. New York officials are pissed off about this. New Yorkers are pissed off about this. Same with Chicago. Of course, the other day I covered their NIMBYism. What do you think it's like to be in southern Texas where this has been a problem now for decades? The problem only showed up on your doorstep in the last few years because people like Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, Greg Abbott, etc., pushed the issue and said, look, no, there's a bunch of people coming in illegally. Oh, yeah, I know what we'll do. We'll hire buses and we'll send them to Martha's Vineyard. We'll send them to Chicago, etc., and Los Angeles. San Francisco. We'll send them there. We'll send them to the, I think it's a Naval Institute, not far from Kamala's house, actually. We'll send them upstate. We'll send them to the northern regions. And then they can finally see a tiny fraction of the problem that we see literally every day. What has the response been? NIMBYism. Well, they should stay to home down in the Southland. The Mexicans belong down there in Texas or in Southern California. Thus exposing the hypocrisy of liberals, thus exposing the hypocrisy of public officials, and thus pushing the issue. The Republicans, by the way, are taking a huge win day after day on this issue. Every time that this hits the news waves, it's a win for them. They know it. That's why they're continuing these programs. I think that DeSantis should send 1,000 people to Martha's Vineyard next time. Don't send 100, send 1,000. Send several planes full of illegals to Martha's Vineyard and overrun their island and say, well, you voted for Joe. Why do you think this is a problem? You've got shit tons of money. Most of you people have 7 bedrooms for every person that lives on the island. By the way, somebody do a study about that. Is there any way that you can look up statistical data to find out how many bedrooms there are per person that lives on Martha's Vineyard? and attendant areas, by the way, that are also rich. Can you please, somebody do that work for me? I'm lazy. Do my job for me and find out what the ratio is. I bet it's like 4 bedrooms per person on Martha's Vineyard. Have you looked at the rentals that are available there, assuming that you're filthy rich and fucking corrupt? Yeah, if you're willing to pay $50,000 over the course of a month, you can get, I think, 12 bedrooms, actually. Inland, of course. It costs more if you're on the coast. A complete jackass. I actually believe that borders are under control. Tommy Simonson. If there are no borders, how do you know if you have to pay taxes in the U.S.? Normally, the borders is around the area you have to pay taxes in. True. Let's see. BW, you hear about the trucker boycott in Florida? Illegals protesting Ron for enforcing the law. Many such cases, although I'll point out the liberals are typically the ones that do the most protesting of such things. That's because they want to be able to break the law. Brian Sanborn, your reward for watching Jaws 3. Well, you came through. You made good on your offer there. I have actually watched, I think, all of the Jaws movies. Wasn't there a 4th one, too, that was even more panned? Wasn't one of them, the plot was like someone used voodoo to make the shark attack people or something? I can't even remember. I mean, it has been a long time. This was back when I was in my 20s, so it's like 15 years ago that I watched it, but I have indeed watched Jaws 3. I can't remember that I enjoyed it particularly, but, you know, when you're younger and stuff, you're like, you sat down on the couch, it's the middle of summer, it's Shark Week or something, and you've got your chips, or in my case, a lot of times, leftover mac and cheese slathered with ketchup. I'd watch like gory or weird movies all the time. Evil Dead, I watched that VHS tape till it basically stopped working. Yeah, Jaws 4, The Revenge. Jesus Christ. Talk about it. I mean, the only thing that it rivals that in terms of grifting off of your franchise at this point would be the Jason franchise, Friday the 13th. Bunny Rare. Oh, I'd already read that one. Sigil Stone. I don't understand how someone could look at the military treats veterans and think, damn, I got to sign up today for some of that. Remember the VA death list? Critical IQ deficit in this country. Yeah, I wouldn't join the military right now. Back in the day, I thought about joining the Coast Guard out of high school because I'm like, well, that'd be kind of cool. You know, you can shoot narcos and, you know, I like swimming and being on a ship sounds cool because, you know, ships are cool. And I was like, well, you know, if I went down to like the Gulf of Mexico, the weather would be better. Get some good college money. You know, I think it's like $10,000 per year off grant or something like that. I'm like, well, I didn't know MREs existed at the time. I could have jump-started my MRE tasting career. Decided not to, though, in the end. Yeah, the Halloween franchise would definitely be on the list as well. The Patriot Cairo, you think USPS will ever make a Trump stamp? Lol. They may, actually, in time. If he gets a second term and does well, some of the TDS might actually alleviate, believe it or not. We'll see what happens. E. Lombard, cast Meryl Streep as Harriet Tubman. Annie Lennox as Harriet Tubman. Next news story. Rick Perry teases possible presidential bid and declines to support the Trump campaign. Yes, Rick Perry, former energy secretary and 2-time loser for the nomination, by the way, may join in on the fun. Boy, oh boy, again, I hope that he does. The more packed the field, the more chaotic that it gets, and the more infighting and the more generally targeting of Trump and or DeSantis that happens, the better. It's going to be exciting. Right now, you've got a lackluster field. Okay, Asa Hutchinson is in. Nobody knows he exists. Ramaswamy can be fun. He's got a good Twitter presence, but again, he's just not there. Nikki Haley occasionally weighs in and says something fucking retarded, but nobody cares that she exists either. Without DeSantis having got in, and we're still not 100% sure he's going to do anything in a couple weeks other than form an exploratory committee. By the way, Ron, get in or out and don't do that, or you have torpedoed your fucking career. Don't go the Tim Cotton route. Other than that, you get a bunch of also-rans. That's it. I hope that Rick Perry gets in. I hope Mike Pence gets in because it'd be funny to see them be punching bags. Can you imagine the former energy secretary and former VP under Trump both run? Oh, wow, would Trump have a good goddamn time? Maybe it'll force him to get back on Twitter just so that he can expand the reach of his insults of them. Let's see. And by the way, please send no more super chats. We're running up towards an hour, and I do have one more thing that I have to go through here as far as TDS goes. By the way, pertinent to the election. Craig Homer, borders are irrelevant to the IRS. No matter where you live or make your money, you owe tax to them. Yes, if you are a U.S. citizen, you do owe the IRS money. Being an expat like myself does not prevent that from being the case. So don't think that you can go to Majorca or something like that and say, I don't have to pay U.S. taxes. I'm an expat. Bullshit, dude. If your money comes from the U.S., even if it doesn't come from the United States, if it comes from a foreign institution, you still have to pay taxes. I think the U.S. is the only country in the world that does that. Same with renouncing your citizenship, if I remember correctly. They charge you thousands of bucks to do that too. Matthew Hammond, you are absolutely right. They need to send every illegal immigrant to Martha's Vineyard and rent out some houses to house them for a month or two. That's what they should do. Abbott and DeSantis and Trump and his people and others should get together to round up 10,000 people and ship them in a 72-hour period, utterly overrunning it. When the liberals complain, say, look, you've got a lot more money than our constituents along the southern border and in Florida. A lot more money than that. You have collectively billions of dollars in assets. You have just seen a microcosmic fraction of what our people have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. You're sitting there complaining like a bunch of fucking goofy morons. We have to deal with it. We're not allowed to complain or we're racist. Shut the fuck up and deal with it. That's what they should do. Be the best optical win possible, and they can coordinate it. Somebody needs to get them all together to do so. And then the final news story, abolish live TV audiences in the 2024 presidential race. Why? CNN's shameful town hall was a gift to Trump. Enough is enough. This comes from the soapbox, so leftoids. Yeah, they're pissed off because CNN decided to do its town hall. Now, let's say I'm on the left or a liberal, Dem partisan. Yeah, I probably am pissed at CNN because I did give him an easy win. I knew that he was going to talk over the moderator. I knew that they were going to spar. It wasn't really a town hall. It was an attempt at a gotcha moment. What they attempted to do is lure him in with a town hall. Hey, we're going to have an all-Republican audience ask you softballs. Okay, says Trump, I'll come in. Do you think that Donald Trump didn't know that the moderator was going to go ape shit on him? He was going to go raped ape mode? Of course he did. He went in there because he likes that. He performs well under that sort of stress. They're pissed at CNN because they had him on at all. They want to black out Trump, block him off, and pretend he doesn't exist because they know unless they successfully convince the public that Trump has effectively disappeared from the face of the earth, he will be nominee, and he's probably going up against his old nemesis who will be reigning over a recessionary economy at the time of the 24 election. They are afraid. They're terrified of Donald Trump. That's why they don't want him to speak. Do you think that CNN would have gotten so much ire if Ramaswamy, Nikki Haley, who they like basically, Asa Hutchinson, even Ron DeSantis got aboard? No, with Ron DeSantis aboard, they would have faced some pushback, admittedly. With the others, no, they wouldn't have faced anything at all. Ramaswamy would be a close third, I suppose. They get Rick Perry on there and Mike Pence. Nobody would care. If Mike Pence goes on there, there's, he has some redeeming qualities. At least he's willing to criticize his former boss. But at the same time, we're not really on board with somebody who was part of the Trump admin. They would softball it. They wouldn't have a huge problem. They'd have a problem with him, but for partisan reasons mainly. But they wouldn't, go completely insane like they did with this town hall on CNN with Donald Trump. They just don't want him to speak. They want to silence him because they know that when he speaks, he wins. That's really the long and short of it. So it's very, very funny. They don't want live TV audiences because people will applaud what he says. Now, I noticed that they're not claiming this because of anything Biden does. It's because nobody applauds him, unless it's a captive audience of partisan Dems to begin with. The people on CNN, I like the quote from the Occupy Dems and the Krasensteins and others. Well, the CNN live audience was told it could clap, but it wasn't allowed to boo. So standard. Exactly what they're always told. You're not allowed to catcall the person who's answering questions because it'll be distracting for people. No shit, that was a rule that they instituted. That's par for the course in 90% of the time that they're going to institute, but they pretend that it's a one-off because, once again, orange man bad. It's as simple as that. Anyway, I think I'm going to go offline here. Thank you to all of the people who have tuned in live, to the nearly 5,000 of you. I will definitely be live streaming tomorrow. Again, link in the description on all platforms. For the Twitter audience, hello. Unfortunately, I can't see what you're saying because I don't have a second screen. My apologies. I'll rectify that or rectify it in the future. On cross-platform, link in the description. And pinned at the top of chat, if you are watching this on YouTube, to Wokeness is Wrong. That's my new booklet. It is an academic work refuting wokeness in general, trying to describe it. It approaches it from an academic perspective. I'm trying to figure out which kind of works I should prioritize more. Orange Man Big was released a couple weeks ago. I monitored the sales totals for that. They were very good. That was a facetious, a satirical work of political comedy. This is an academic work that's meant for you to use in order to combat people who support wokeness. Much like the anti-gun control work I'm going to be completing at some point over this summer. I'm working on 4 different works, actually, literally as we speak. So if you want a copy, if you like the academic works that I've done, Critical Race Theory Debunked, Against Communism, etc., you can grab a copy of that. It is out on ebook now, too. Amazon the other day had a problem. They wouldn't process the ebook files. Today, they processed them, so that is already published and available. So paperback, ebook, you can do your thing. I will be back tomorrow. Don't worry. More live streams in the future. That's about all. Peace out.